Hey everyone, and welcome to another Yogi Misfit session. My name is Danny Pomploon, and I'm your host. Today I had a really good friend of mine, Alyssa Brown, on the show. She's actually the first person who taught me how to teach yoga. So we talked a little more about the 8-limb path of yoga and how we can start to bring it into our day-to-day life. Alyssa is super awesome, really inspiring. She's a health coach, she's a yoga teacher, and most recently she started working for the Navy and brought wellness awareness programs to them. So she's really covered every single angle of wellness and all these aspects. But she really dives deep into how we get these 8 limbs into our lives. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to the show as much as I enjoyed chatting her up. Enjoy the show. Alyssa, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm so happy to have you on the show. Mainly, well, one, because you're one of my best friends, but two, because you're awesome and you have such great knowledge.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
How's everything going down in San Diego?
It's going wonderful. Enjoying this month when the tourists leave and the weather is still gorgeous and the beaches are wide open and just stretching out summer one more month.
All the zonies are in town?
Not anymore.
So Alyssa, you have you're going through a bunch of changes right now. You have decided you've been teaching yoga for how many years?
I started teaching in 2004. So
Okay.
a little over 12 years.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been a fun, long road.
Nice. And you've recently decided to, well, I know you've been working on this for a while. You have decided to start to transform anything into like yoga, or everything rather into like yoga and wellness. And now this is like your full-time passion. Now you're starting to go like full speed ahead.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I've been working for the U.S. Navy for the past few years as a contractor, doing health promotion strategy and health promotion education. And I'm a certified health coach, and that's always been on the side, me working one-on-one or with small groups with clients, and teaching yoga on the side of my full-time job. And so now I'm trying to go full speed ahead with teaching yoga, both in person and online. And in addition to that, doing some health education online, whether that be one-on-one coaching, workshops, or working with groups as well.
Wow. That's so you got your hands full in a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yeah. And in my opinion, it's all connected. What I'm doing is trying to widen the lens beyond asana and beyond yoga postures for people and help them to see that the yogic path, the 8 limbs, can be applied to your everyday life, not just to improve your overall way of being, but to improve your well-being so that you can make better choices in the day-to-day that will help improve your health long-term.
So so for people that don't, let's assume some of the people listening to the podcast don't know all of the full 8 limbs. One, how do you digest that quickly for them? And then two, how do you then start to add these things from a yoga practice into every day?
Sure. So the 8-limb path is like a roadmap to be a good person, is the way that I would describe it. And what's happened in the yoga world, especially out here in the West, is that we've cherry-picked asana. And we take yoga, the physical practice of yoga, and see that as this is yoga. But there's actually so much more to it. Your physical practice is amazing. And through that practice, you can find tools to inform your own awareness and to elevate your consciousness and to make you more emotionally flexible off the mat, all of these wonderful things. Mm-hmm. But asana, or your physical yoga practice, is just a small piece of what the yogic path is. Mm-hmm. There's so much more to it in terms of recommendations through the teachings of yoga on how to live your life, to take care of yourself and to take care of those around you in your community and really all beings.
Mm-hmm. And what's your starting point?
Yeah. So I think going into the yamas and niyamas is what I work with some yogis on, in applying those teachings that they've learned about, or maybe they haven't and it's new to them, and bringing them into the health and wellness perspective. So Ahimsa is, nonviolence in thought, word, and action. So that could be translated as eating real plant-based food, minimizing or removing any animal products from your life, and especially those that are sourced through cruel farming practices. Satya is truth, speaking and living your truth in your relationships, in your workplace, in your community. This is going to help you to live an authentic life, but to also keep your stress levels low so that you reduce your disease risk. Asteya, trusting that you are enough and that you have enough, and letting go of desire and greed and want from things outside of yourself, thinking that those things will bring you happiness. Brahmacharya, that one's always a hard one for me to say, but living simply, living with restraint and avoiding excess in any areas that could negatively impact your health. Aparigraha translates into non-attachment, learning to let go of old beliefs, old patterns, old habits that hinder you. Satya translates into purity, so hydrating your body like crazy. 3 out of 4 Americans are chronically dehydrated, and we're about 65 to 70% water. And so if you're not taking care of yourself with just the simplest thing with hydration, your body can't operate the way that it's supposed to. But continuing to, flush and cleanse your body and really living in a pure way. Santosha means contentment. So you're living your life for the right now. Goals are great to have, and it's good to want to change your body or to change your life. But by keeping your focus on the day-to-day and practicing Santosha, you'll see so much more improvement in the long term when the focus is in the here and now. Tapas is another one of the yamas and niyamas that it translates into discipline. So mindful eating, mindful movement, mindful self-talk. The study, Svidhyaya is the study of self. So that could be like food journaling, or it could be assessing if the yoga style that you're practicing right now is the practice that's right for you. Oftentimes, if you practice yoga long enough, I'm almost 20 years into my journey, the way that you initially start practicing is not where you end up. Your body changes, your life changes, your knowledge base changes. And so assessing if the style that you're practicing is still working today, even if it worked 10 years ago, it might not work right now.
Right. I think that's a big one. That's a really, really big. I know I find that for myself. I used to be, a hardcore Ashtangi for many, many, many years. And my body doesn't do that anymore.
No. And unfortunately for me, I learned that lesson the hard way with injuries and surgeries that came from overuse. And I wouldn't attribute it just to yoga. I was a gymnast, so I spent my whole life standing on my hands. But, 20 years of gymnastics and 20 years of yoga led to 2 hand surgeries, which have taken a long time, to heal my hands and my wrists. And my practice looks completely different, which is okay. There were some huge spiritual lessons in that process, and a big old smack to my ego throughout that time.
You mean that wasn't easy?
No. But those are some of the yamas and niyamas which are part of the path. There's also turning your attention inward, pratyahara. Really studying yourself and dialing into what's going on in my life, what choices am I making, what's happening right now. Am I doing things that really support my highest self, that support my overall health? And bringing that sense of dharana and dhyana from focus and meditation into not just your yoga practice in those 60 or 75 or 90 minutes that you're on the mat, but into your every day when you wake up in the morning, taking some time to slow down and breathe and dial into your intention for the day, or throughout the day if things are getting crazy or you're being sucked into social media or terrible reality television, coming back to what really matters and what's going on with me and how can I, improve my sense of self. I think all of this is in the teachings of yoga. All of it can be applied today, and especially in the realm of wellness. And so that's where I'm at right now in my journey, and my mission is to show people that yoga is so much broader than a handstand or a warrior two. They're just tiny little pieces of the puzzle. And I want to help people integrate that into their life and into the modern world, to have it meet them where they're at, because I think that's a big need today too.
So, okay, someone says, this stuff all sounds awesome, right? But this is all overwhelming. What do I do?
Yeah, I would recommend working with a health coach like myself. I think I'm unique in that I'm not only a longtime yoga practitioner, a yoga teacher, but I've also studied every aspect that can impact your overall health extensively. So whether it's nutrition, stress, sleep, mindset, all of those things. And a health coach can really help you to take a look at your whole life, everything from your nutritional choices to your job, to your relationships, to the types of movement that you're engaging in on a daily basis, and help you to identify what's helping me and what's hindering me, and then create an action plan to improve those areas that you can upgrade. And it's a slow process. For most people, doing anything cold turkey or trying to go from like, I love to eat at Outback Steakhouse to I'm going to be vegan the next day, that often doesn't last. There are some outliers that can make those drastic shifts and they can stick with it the rest of their life. Or like, I'm going to quit smoking, boom, cold turkey, done. And they never go back to a cigarette, but they're few and far between. And so getting good support, whether it's with a health coach, a therapist, a really experienced yoga instructor that really practices what they preach and does all of this stuff as well, getting support to make those changes and to really get good education, good tools, and then create a plan to go forward would be what I would suggest.
If you were to tell, so if someone was to ask, okay, Alyssa, I'm ready to start looking into this stuff. Well, not resource wise, but like, where would you say outside of your starting point, of getting a health coach, but like, where would one analyze, or where would one start to look at that stuff to see if they're, one, following the teachings, or two, even want to follow the teachings?
Yeah, I think there's so many resources online these days. I think you could get some good information from like a yoga journal or a yoga glow. There's a lot of online education that you can find through Udemy or Teachable. There's several health and wellness people and yoga people out there in the online world who have created some really great content. And I think that that's affordable. It's something you can do at home. You can do it on your own time. Doing some simple online searching about the 8-limb path of yoga, I think would be a good place to go. I think that would be a good place to start.
I love that you called it's their rules or not rules, but their guides on becoming a good person.
Yeah. Being a good person starts with being good with yourself, really loving yourself, the choices that you're making in your life, and, what your plan is moving forward. If you don't love yourself, you have a lot of stuff that you still need to work through. You're making poor choices for your life and you're not stoked about where your life is going. It's really hard to be a good person. And you might be impacting people that you don't even realize. You might be crappy to your coworkers, or you might be acting, not so kind to your spouse or partner or whatever, or, being short with family members, whatever it is. But when you're really good with yourself, you're loving you and you're loving where you're at in life, things move so much more fluidly and so much more kindly from that place of self-love.
I love that you say that, because I know firsthand, old patterns and how to repeat them. I'm really good at that. But it's something as simple as like relationships, like, knowing that your cup has to be full before you try to fill anyone else, and not even filling someone else. It really shouldn't be that. It should be, supporting on a side by side, not a front or a back or an up and a down. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it takes constant work. That's the thing. This whole self-love thing, in my opinion, has been a constant reassessment. And, you have to look at what's going on in your life and where are those old patterns creeping up and where are you having some negative self-talk and how can you improve those places within you that may be wounded, that you have to keep coming back to those old wounds and making sure that they're taken care of and eventually healed. But there's always things that are going to happen in life that are going to hurt us again. And then we got a new wound we got to take care of. And it never is like, okay, done, boom. I totally love myself and I love my life and everything's perfect. And yay, I'm living the yogic lifestyle, right?
For sure. Yeah. And you know what? I agree. Like when I first started practicing yoga, I didn't realize that it would have other effects in my life. I did it for physical practice. And then as I started learning more about the teachings, I was like, oh, wow, I can actually not just become a better person, but for me, it was like, oh, I can better my life.
Absolutely.
to have these teachings say, hey, go and study a little bit on your like about yourself, and go and study deeper about yourself, and take care of yourself, and be clean to yourself, and to both like internal and external. And it was kind of cool to learn that later on. I mean, it took a few years, but later on down the road, I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, for most people, that's the story. You come in, asana gets people in the door, and then you start to learn what yoga is really about. And you're like, whoa, and it really widens your lens and makes you look at yourself and your life and the relationships that you have and the choices that you made in your career. And, sometimes there can be those unintended consequences that we were never expecting through yoga. You're like, I wanted to go through yoga teacher training because I think yoga's fun and it makes me feel good and I want to teach other people. And you don't realize sometimes it's going to take a shovel to the foundation of your life.
Now I've got a divorce and I decided that I'm going to move across the country or across the world. And
absolutely. I'm going to change my career and friends and, everything. It's wild, right?
There's one of my teachers and good friend, Darren Main, he often says, he's like, if you want to ruin your life, do yoga teacher training or go to therapy.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not ruin your life in terms of making it worse. It's
awakening,
upheaving what everything that you have known to be your life.
Yeah.
It really is just rooting out the foundation and then having to rebuild everything from the way that you see yourself, the way that you see the world, the way that you act in relationships, what you want for your life. That's what it will do. And I highly recommend anyone who wants to follow the yogic path to go to therapy.
Yeah.
Because it's going to give you so much more awareness around how your past informs your present. And to be able to make those changes and to follow the path, you got to have rock star self-awareness. And you'll definitely develop self-awareness through your regular physical yoga practice, but therapy is really the magic sauce. Right. Because you're sitting down, there are no postures there, and you're really talking about you from that outsider's perspective. That's going to dig in deep to make you have to work through your own shit.
That's too hard.
Awful, isn't it? I sign up for it every other week, and then I'm like, why?
I know, same, like every week. And then actually, and my therapist, she was a yoga practitioner for a really long time, did a yoga teacher training, and often weaves in like, well, here's one of the teachings of yoga. Actually, Danny, are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with, so on and so forth? And it's kind of cool how, although, maybe in modern day now we call it therapy, but really it was all in the yoga teachings beforehand anyway.
Absolutely. Self-study and self-awareness.
Calling yourself on your own shit.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you do? So I know for me, myself, like I am no saint, and I definitely do the practice and the self-study of the yoga practices, exactly what we're supposed to be doing. What do you do when you get caught up, when you start to slip?
I mean, look, we're human. Right? There's going to be times that we're going to slip. We're not robots that are programmed to be perfect and perfectly live this, path all the time. And there's going to be slip ups. When I slip up, I ask myself, what is the lesson in this? What's really going on beneath the surface that may have caused me to, act in this way or speak this way or do something that, my highest self wouldn't be so stoked on. Why did it happen? And what's the lesson in this? And sometimes you don't know the answer to that until down the road.
Right.
And just trusting that if you're following your heart, you're in the right place, but also that we are human beings and nobody is perfect and we make mistakes,
Yeah, I love that. It's remembering that we're having this experience and the spiritual experience in a human body.
Absolutely.
And thus we get to deal with the human aspects of it.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice. I love it, Alyssa. I mean, I can't thank you enough for just coming on the show and just reminding people like it is okay to slip up, but also it's okay to deep into these other aspects of yoga other than the physical practice. The physical practice is awesome. Obviously, we love it so much, but there's also deeper layers that you dive into. Absolutely. And life's a journey and there are lessons every single day, and being open to those lessons is really key. Seeing it all as just an opportunity to learn more and get more connected to yourself and to other people, I think is what it's all about. And you're starting to do more online coaching, right? So if people want to find you, they can either find you in person or online. And I'll make sure I put your website and everything in the show notes. But what else are you doing? What else are you up to?
Yeah, you can definitely head to my website to learn a little bit more about coaching and yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to put some yoga online now
Mm-hmm.
in alignment with a book that I just wrote. It's called Yoga for Joint Health. And there is a yoga series that will go with that online. And I'm in the process of filming that right now. But the book is accessible to all levels. It's
Awesome.
hatha based, so it's not flow yoga, but it really was born out of the desire to do something about the epidemic of chronic pain and the way that people are managing pain in the United States. And me knowing personally and through the experiences of my students that there is a better way to deal with pain than popping pain pills and creating more addicts. So that's something we can talk about on a future podcast. But it's also a passion of mine. But that's the other big project that I've been working on.
Nice. Awesome, Alyssa. Well, thank you again for coming on to the show. Oh, I have to ask you the last show question. Dun, dun, dun. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
You are, oh man, I don't know which way I want to go on this. Okay. You are stuck on an island with one person. Who is it and why?
That's really hard. Just one person?
Do, 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 do.
I mean, I have to say my boyfriend Brent, because we're living in a home together now and building our relationship and exploring knowing each other more and more every day. And he's the person that I'm around the most right now. And I couldn't imagine not being around him.
That's good. I would have gone with Oprah.
She came up. She popped into my mind. She's someone whose brain I just would want to pick over and over and over again.
Exactly. That's where I'm going with it. Yeah, let's talk, girl. Awesome. Well, until the next Yogi Misfit session, this is Danny and Alyssa saying peace out.
Bye.